Only 13% of women feel confident that they'll achieve their long-term financial goals. Hi, I'm Belinda and I'm the General Manager here at Evalesco. Welcome back to the Healthy, Wealthy and Happy podcast. Today, I want to start with a statistic that really stopped me in my tracks. Only 13% of women feel confident that they'll achieve their long-term financial goals. That number isn't about intelligence or capability or ambition. It tells us that there's something much deeper going on, a confidence gap. And today is about how we start to close that gap through advice built on connection, clarity, and confidence. I'm joined by Melanie Edwards, Senior Financial Advisor here at Evalesco. Mel works closely with women of different life stages and ages, helping them feel more in control and more confident about their financial future. Thanks for joining me, Mel.
Happy to be here.
Let's start with that number, only 13%. Why do you think so many women feel this lack of confidence when it comes to their long-term finances?
It's definitely not about their capability because, we know women are just as capable as men, I should say. I think there's a lot of key drivers around this number, and this confidence gap is really about the some of the inherent characteristics of women being more conservative by nature. They really like to understand things before taking any action, so that can delay action. And which, we all know when it comes to growing wealth, the biggest thing we have is time to compound and grow. So the longer you delay, the more you have to catch up. So really building that confidence earlier is key. And then it's also things like being a primary caregiver, having time out of the workforce. As a result of that, your income is lower generally. You go back on a part-time or, flexible basis, which again it impacts the income that you receive, which then flows through to the amount that you're saving towards retirement. If you're choosing more conservative investments, like all these little decision points or little structural or societal influences generally then have a negative outcome in terms of increasing that gap.
Yeah, it's certainly having a very strong female team behind us at Evalesco. This is certainly something that I know we talk about quite regularly.
Yeah.
And we are, as a business, very conscious of as well. Do you see that reflected with the women you work with, not just here, but in the industry more broadly?
Yes, I think the common challenges we all face is, that juggle, trying to balance out the different hats that we all inevitably wear, being an advisor or career-minded, balancing that with family obligations and caregiving roles, not only if you are, a parent and raising kids, but also helping out with aging parents. Women generally take on that role as well. So all of these have an influence and an impact that we all, even as advisors who are, very financially confident, or working within the profession, we're financially confident, face them as well.
Yeah, and I think that it then leads to clients as well. You have so many clients come in, and I know the message from a lot of our female advisors is women often come in feeling unsure or they feel behind.
Yep.
So when in reality, they're in a really strong position. It's those factors that you spoke to earlier that really, I guess, that kind of that clarity piece is the missing piece.
That's right.
In the puzzle. And someone they want someone to help them through that.
And I think it is having building up the confidence through having that feedback loop of going, the decisions I'm making are sound, that the actions I'm taking are the right ones for me.
Yeah.
We live in a world now where information is everywhere, information overload. So really having someone who understands you, what your goals and your priorities and what you're aspiring to achieve in sort of all areas of your life, and having that deep understanding to be able to fact check or give that confidence boost that yes, I'm on the right pathway and I'm not missing out, or I'm not making the wrong decision, which I think it holds a lot of women back from taking action.
Yeah, absolutely. We've had lots of discussions previously about how important connection is, and that leads from that point as well, is how important that connection is in building that confidence. I guess holding people's hand through advice is part of that. What does that look like though within advice?
Great question. I think it's really about connecting on a personal level as well. It's not just a transaction. It's not about being about the most sophisticated strategy. Really breaking things down to help people understand what their options and their choices are and what the implications of that is. So in a really meaningful way. So we're not hear about the jargon. They want to really cut through all of that speak. They want to feel confident to be able to ask questions when they don't understand and not feel like they're, spoken down to, or that they should know this already. I think creating that safe space is really important, because if they don't build that understanding, they won't build that confidence and be able to then be able to take those steps.
And I think that fear almost is what would hold them back in that process. Yeah. So I guess that shift is really big, right? It's not just about the numbers. It's people first.
Yeah, 100%.
Which is so important and really starts to lead to that baseline of that confidence build again. Yeah. So once the connection's there, how do you actually go about helping build that confidence?
I think it's really about giving them the tools to understand where they currently sit, and where their gaps are. So, for us at Evalesco, making sure clients have an education around these, strategies or financial literacy concepts is really important to, at the end of the day, we are here as a guide to help them navigate, but the decision is grounded by them and what they're trying to achieve. So making sure that they have a good understanding to be able to feel confident in that decision is really important, and building that understanding is part of that journey.
I think that's really key too, is making sure that we can help them, I guess, cut through that complexity, and that helps build that confidence as well.
Yeah.
It certainly gives them, I guess, the clarity to make decisions to move forward.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. So what changes do you see once that clarity really clicks?
Yeah, that's great. I think it's part of the journey is seeing that development from being really unsure, uncertain, to taking, being proactive, very confident, having, being able to think about their pathway, and broadening that the opportunities that they have is really exciting. So, one particular client I have in mind is she came and she was very nervous about investing. Had a big inheritance come in, so more money than she'd previously ever kind of managed.
Yeah.
So understandably very nervous around preserving and protecting that, and not making the wrong decision as such. So building her confidence to to understand, how to invest and how markets work and what that journey looks like, or could potentially look like, and what the decision points and how they will factor into the outcomes that she could get. Really, empowered her to, when things change, as life is not static, and markets change and life circumstances change. When those things change, she, there was no panic, there was no uncertainty. It was really about, okay, great, like, what can we do? What's the opportunities we have here? Can we do this? How does that work? And really helping her navigate that with a lot of confidence and no stress.
Yeah, it really sounds like that confidence shift, I guess. The change really allows women to show up, and show up across every part of their life, really, because I guess finance is a big burden. We hear that it's a big pressure on any relationship, let alone individually. So with women feeling like they've got no confidence, once we feel that instantly flows through to all different parts of life.
That's right.
Yeah. And it's not just about today. How does confidence with money, I guess, shape longer term planning, and then legacy as well?
Yeah. It definitely gives you the foundations to be able to pass on, not just your wealth, but also your, I suppose, your attitudes to managing money, or to building wealth, or having those those money stories, and the importance of setting your kids up, or setting the next generation up for to build off the back of what you've achieved. So I think, when you have built that confidence up, you're more empowered to continue and passing on that message in a really positive way to I guess, better everyone around you. So, women typically do manage sort of the day to day and the household. They may not, necessarily always take a step back and make the big financial decisions per se. Traditionally has been involved in that process, but being empowered to step up to that just gives them the skills to then pass that on to the next generation, to be able to, as well, I suppose, be in control of their journey. Yeah.
And I think that's such a powerful way to think about wealth too. It's well beyond just the numbers, and it can flow right through to creating wealth for the next generations to come.
Yeah.
Yeah. How does this or that come to life in the way that you support women here at Evalesco?
It's stripped back to helping women identify what, sometimes it is about the basics, what comes in, what goes out, really being mindful around their intentions, around money. So often we're so busy, women juggling 50 million things, to really take the time out to say, okay, this is what's important to me, and so how do I make my structure work for me, and so that I can address these in the most effective, efficient way possible. The less I have to be in it every day, the more likely you are to succeed. So giving them the tools and the knowledge to be able to firstly identify and then structure is really important as a starting point, and then build on that. So again, everything is we're not trying to solve all the problems at once. We want it to be a really not easy, but necessarily easy, but a really smooth process. You want it to not be overwhelming. We don't want to add to the overwhelm. So that's really key to making that experience great for women who want to grow and I suppose build on their legacy.
Yeah, I mean, our approach here is certainly built on connection, creating that clarity, and then longer term relationships, because we want to help them through all these life stages. And we want to help their families through these life stages, not just those major milestones. For anyone listening who might be feeling unsure, what are some simple first steps?
It would be, again, for if you've never really thought about it, taking the time. So it could be, making sure there's no distractions. You've got
Easier said than done.
Yep, scheduling it in, and really take stock of, okay, what is it that is important to me? What do I want to do? What does that life look like? In a year's time, in 5 years' time, in 10 years' time, and where am I now? What is it that I need to bridge that gap? So sometimes you might not know the answer to that, but it helps them formulate the questions. What do I need to know? What do I need to find out? To be able to make a decision on this point or help bridge that gap. And so sometimes it is getting advice, or sometimes it's researching that particular issue. Partnering with an advisor can be really, really productive in that.
Yeah.
Because a lot of that initial conversation is about that goal setting, is about that. What does an ideal life look like for you? What is it that concerns you? What is it that worries you and keeps you up at night? So addressing all those things, and really, and sometimes it could be a surprising answer.
Yeah.
You take the time to really think about it, and really highlights, actually, I thought this is what was important to me, but no, actually, I think, on reflection, if I have to sacrifice this and that and the other, maybe not so important. Or, and so I think that's really a great exercise to be able to start at that point, and then help you direct where you should be focusing on next.
And I think that breaking that down as well in itself, that conversation, it might seem overwhelming if someone came to you and said, well, what are your goals? What do you want your life to look like? How long's a bit of string? I have no idea. I don't know what I can afford. Like, there's lots of questions that lead from that, which then come back to inaction because it's just all too hard and too overwhelming and it's just too complex. But breaking that down and just having a conversation with someone to flesh that out might land somewhere where you didn't actually think it would end up.
Yeah, that's right.
Which is really powerful as well. Yeah, I think that's the key. It's those small steps. Just start with a conversation.
Yeah.
And then see where it leads from there. It's such an important reminder. Confidence isn't something that you either have or you don't. It's something you can build. If this conversation resonated, we'd encourage you to reach out and start the conversation. We have a wonderful team of advisors here, female advisors at that are more than willing to have that first chat to see what life might look like. Mel, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Have a healthy, wealthy, and happy day.